Okay, welcome to another edition of Real Estate Investor Talk. I'm sitting next to Graham Power here in Blackheath in Cape Town. He's the chairman of the Power Group, which is a big property development company that has delivered property developments, civils, roads, bridges, and a number of developments throughout South Africa, and certainly one of the bigger developers. So Graham, just tell us a little bit about your journey. I'm now going to swing the camera over to you because I think you've done some incredible things, in particular to the landscape of Cape Town and also a lot of part of South Africa. Maybe just share us a little bit about your journey, where it started, just briefly, and some of the experiences that you've got up along the way.
Thank you, Neale. It's a privilege to be chatting with you and to the real estate investor congregation out there. Thank you for the privilege of being able to share with you.
Yeah.
I grew up in a fairly poor environment with 5 children in a family, a father who was a motor mechanic coming out of the Second World War. And from there it was a matter of my mother going to work each day on a thick wheel bicycle so that each of our kids could at least have one pair of shoes.
Right.
And my bicycle that I eventually got had many coats of painting, as it had been handed down over the years through the family. And so it's been an interesting walk, and probably because we had so little, I do appreciate the small things in life. And I started off my working career as a trainee surveyor with Savage and Lovemore, which is today known as Group 5 Roads.
Right.
I worked for them for 9.5 years, and then started my own business in 1983. So early in 2013 we will be 30 years old, and it's been an exciting walk. Having started with a small second-hand bucky, a pickup, and very little staff, and my wife doing the books and my doing tendering at night, and then during the day out there trying to get the jobs done, and progressively having a number of the key leaders that I'd worked with at Savage and Lovemore join me with time. So today we employ 1,600 people, and probably another 1,000 in the way of subcontractors. We operate across South Africa. We're looking at various parts of Africa, and so we've had the privilege of seeing Cape Town and the Eastern Cape and Gauteng, where we're probably now doing close to 50% of our turnover in Gauteng, and have been involved in seeing a lot of upliftment. A lot of people that have lived in squatter shacks now getting their first home, their only home they've ever owned, to the other end of the market, where we've had the privilege of being involved with development of Petersen Island in Knysna, which has really been quite a highlight for me, taking an island, putting a few kilometers of canals through it, and then seeing a really upmarket development with the commercial and the homes that are there. So it's been an exciting time, and I want to thank you.
No, absolute pleasure.
It's been a privilege to chat with you and to share with your viewers.
Tell us a little bit about more of your other initiatives, and one of them being obviously this unashamedly ethical, because it's kind of something which has really sort of taken traction, and I think it's something which I think should be shared out there with various businesses, particularly in the property game.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the concern that I think many of us have about our country is not only about politics and so forth, but specifically about this thing in Africa, about ethics and values, and especially about corruption and collusion. And it's been really hectic to see over the last number of years how the rating of South Africa has dropped radically in the international corruption barometer.
Right.
Now, a thing called Transparency International does a monitor each year to see or does a survey each year to monitor about corruption around the world. And of the 180 nations in the world that they monitor, South Africa has dropped radically over the last 3 years. We used to be number 45, then we dropped to 54. Last year we dropped to 64, 10 places in 1 year, least corrupt in the nation. And now it's just come out that we've dropped to number 69.
Sure.
So you can imagine when countries like Botswana is rated, I think it is number 34, least corrupt. By the way, the least corrupt in the world is New Zealand, and Singapore, and
Finland, maybe?
Finland is also right up there. This initiative, what we call Unashamedly Ethical, was birthed out of a very clear dream that I had in October of 2006, how that I was to, along with friends, to challenge those that are doing business in South Africa and beyond to be unashamedly ethical, and that we were to do three things: to have a electronic database where people that sign up on a commitment to be unashamedly ethical would all be part of this database worldwide, and that there would also be an ombudsman to monitor that if people don't live up to that standard which they've agreed to. So can you imagine if you wanted an electrician or plumber to come work at your home, wouldn't you rather go onto that database and select somebody and get a quote from somebody that has signed up to be unashamedly ethical? And so this is something that's rolling out at a great pace. We have set our goal that by December 2013 we'd like to see 1 million people in South Africa having individually committed to be unashamedly ethical, and 10,000 companies to have committed to be unashamedly ethical. We're well on our way. Over 3,000 companies have already committed. So if you look at the website www.unashamedlyethical.com, you will see all of the materials, all of the detail. There's no cost involved. It really is a wonderful opportunity for people to say, I want to make a stand against this cancer of corruption that's rolling out across South Africa, Africa, and around the world. And I believe that you and I can make a difference. And if we make a stand, that we think about the tipping point, and whether that is 3 or 4 or 5% of the people in this nation that say we're going to do things on an ethical basis, I believe we're going to see a serious change.
Fantastic.
Positive change that will come around.
Well, that is positive. I mean, just in closing, Graham, maybe, it's tough out there at the moment in the economy. Do you want to leave some words of optimism, some wisdom to, investors, to property people out there? Can you just maybe leave us with some lasting thoughts on that particular area?
I remember when I was 21 years old, just starting out my working career, chatting with a Jewish gentleman, and I asked him for some advice for a young person starting out. And it was interesting. He said to me, Graham, remember that God made one earth, and every day makes more and more people. And therefore, believe me, earth, land, property will always become more valuable. Now, of course, in the economic bubble that's just burst in the last few years, many people have been caught with debt and having overextended themselves on property. That would be, to me, the one key thing. And I speak to myself here when I say, let's ensure that we get out of debt. Secondly, let's not overextend ourselves so that the banks basically control your life. But I do believe that property and land will always, on any long term, 10 plus years, will always be a great investment. I am excited about living in South Africa. I believe that this rainbow nation, that the rainbow has not disappeared, and that God has a special plan for South Africa, and that we will be and are a gateway into Africa. We have a great infrastructure, we have a great country, we have a great peoples, and I believe that South Africa, regardless of some of the short-term concerns, that we will not become a Zimbabwe, and that we will be a key leader, and that Africa is looking to us to play our rightful role. So from my side, I want to wish you well. I really want to trust and pray that God will continue to keep his hand of blessing over South Africa, over our economy, over our leaders, political, business, and other leaders. And I'm excited. And I think as long as you and I continue to believe in ourselves, work hard, and ensure that we are leading a clean life, an ethical life, I believe that we will see the positive results. Thanks and bless you.
Graham, thanks very much. I really appreciate it. I think there's a lot of good message out there, and I just want to thank you again for giving me the opportunity to interview you. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.